slow down. You don't need to draw so fast. Being able to draw fast is something that comes with experience, not with trying to speed through your drawing and hurry up. Speed painting used to be really popular. It might still be. I technically do speed painting. And for all my paintings this month so far, I don't really consider them done, and they need more work. But you will draw better if you just slow down a little bit. Some people may draw a little too slow and they don't draw their lines quickly enough because they don't draw them confidently. That's a different thing. What I'm talking about is not rushing through your art and just hurrying to get it done. I understand there's some work and some people do commissions and they're freelance and they have a timeline. But that doesn't mean you should rush the job to get it done. Get it done at the speed you can get it done. You might have to force yourself to start earlier on it and spend more time on it. What you really need is to master your hand-eye coordination, your control. And that doesn't have anything to do with speed. But drawing, it's not necessary to be fast. And I find it really interesting when you see how kids learn, is they're not worried about messing up. They're just trying to do the thing that everybody else is doing. And they're not in a hurry either. And you don't see them, well, maybe once they get a little bit older, you don't see them getting frustrated. You see babies try and walk, and they get up and try again. And they stumble, they still crawl, but eventually they get up on their own 2 feet. And they figure out their balance. And it takes them a little bit of time to do it, but once they do it, they can start moving and having a little more autonomy. They'll probably stumble and lose their balance, but eventually they'll gain more control and they'll be able to walk pretty easily without wobbling around too much, and eventually they can learn to run and move quickly. But they don't do that right off the bat, so why should we do that with our art? And it doesn't even mean that there's a benefit to making something fast other than you have a deadline and you needed to get it done. And I guess I put myself kind of in the opposite corner right now, because I'm making myself do a sketch every day, but I'm not making myself do them as fast as possible. I'm trying to do them just to do them. Same thing with these videos. I have rushed a few of these videos, and every time I seem to rush it, I either just force myself to get it done, but I feel exhausted afterwards and stressed about if it's going to do good or not. But if I get it done early, I mean, I did it. I'm done. I can go spend my evening how I want to. But usually I end up getting busy or doing other stuff, and all of a sudden it's 6 o'clock and I gotta make a video and I don't have anything. So if you go slow but you start earlier, you can have a more effective use of your time. It gives you the opportunity to work on it more. And with these sketches and the drawings that I do, every time I make myself draw slower, the artwork comes out faster. Which is very weird, because you'd think by slowing down, it's just going to go even longer. But if you do take your time, be a little methodical about things, you'll be able to make decisions a little better because you're going slower. This is not the same thing as, oh, let me just think about it and then I'll get on it later. No, it's more like you start working on it and you don't try and rush through it. You try and take your time with it. And naturally, you're just going to go faster as you learn your controls and how to control your hand, your eyes, your coordination with how you're going to maybe do a stroke or a line of some sort. How much pressure do you want to put on it for a certain line, or how much paint do you load on your brush before you paint? Now, I'm doing digital art, so that doesn't really apply to me right now, but if I was doing traditional art, I would have to maybe think about those things. I see a lot of people, when I see people that are new and beginners to like painting, they tend to use way too much paint, or they use way too little. They just haven't figured out how much to use for certain parts. But a lot of the times I see people, they just don't know, or they haven't experienced going through some of that difficulty and challenge, and they want to just skip to the good stuff. And you can't really cheat or skip in art. Well, you can in some ways, but if you're actually creating and drawing and painting, it's really, really hard to skip things and fast forward, because there's just so much to learn and do and practice and things to observe and understand. It takes a lot of time. I guess you could say, oh, well, people can just use AI. And like, sure, they can use AI, but how are they going to create something that's uniquely them? I don't think you really can, because all AI is based on other things that's been created. I know I draw inspiration from other things and try and emulate little bits of different styles and stuff, but I'm not trying to do exactly that style. I used to do that when I did some studies. And another benefit of going slow with your art is when you're moving slower, you're breathing a little slower, you're more relaxed. When you're more relaxed, you're less stressed, and it's just going to be easier to get into the flow state of creating art. And until next time, Dartagon out. Why are you in my house again? Seriously, you need to stop trespassing. I'm going to have to call someone. You know what? I'm going to call someone right now.